Live Fit Podcast, episode 119. Rob Harsh can help you find and be your authentic self.
Who am I? This is bigger than me. So if all I have left is 2 months, I'm going to try and understand what that bigger thing is. And lo and behold, when you give yourself to something that's larger than yourself, your problems, your fears start to seem small.
Welcome to the Live Fit Podcast with Glenn Johnson, your resource for all things that contribute to good health. You will hear expert advice and interviews with leading authorities on fitness, food, fat loss, mindset, and the mind-body connection. You will find show notes, articles, and health programs at livefitpodcast.com.
Yes, it is time once again for the Live Fit Podcast. I'm your host, Glenn Johnson, your guide to better health. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Today's guest is going to share with us how we can be our own guru. He believes that we can choose our own life and live the life of our dreams, and he's going to help us take this action before a path is chosen for us. Rob Harsh is an adventurer, coach, and cancer survivor. He's been leading people in business and personal growth for 20 years. His greatest skill is supporting people to make positive shifts in their lives, overcome adversity, and to be their best authentic self. Let's listen as Rob Harsh teaches us how to change the light bulb.
I've been on an incredible journey. I'm a coach, I'm an athlete, and I'm recently a cancer survivor.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And so I've been on this incredible journey, overcoming adversity in my life. But I've gone about it in a very different way. I've always been a seeker in my life, and I've always been interested in what's beyond. I've explored the world outside, but I've also gone within. And I've explored the world within, and I've tried to really devote myself to understanding mindfulness and consciousness and how it relates to our bodies, our health, the health of our minds. And I've really done this from, I've read and been taught by many well-trained teachers and coaches and gurus and practitioners all over the world. But I've also learned through my own experience. And, they say we have all the answers within us. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And after going through this journey, I truly believe we have everything we need within each one of us. And it's just a matter of pulling out that intuition, pulling out that innate wisdom that we each have, getting to the heart of the matter, getting past our brains and going deeper and coming out the other end more alive, more transformed, more authentically who we are. So it's hard to actually kind of go through that journey and come back to the world, but I'm now on a mission to kind of really tell my story and share what I know with everyday people who are struggling with their own challenges. We're all trying to overcome similar adversities in our lives, and some people have larger challenges than others. But at the end of the day, I truly believe that the way through, in many respects, is universal. So that's kind of my mission, and supporting people overcome their own self-doubt and get to their own why, their own reasons for being in this world, and find their passion in life.
So when you say that the answer is universal, are you referring back to listening to the body, or is there something greater, bigger, more connected with others? Are we talking a huge spirituality that connects every living thing on the entire planet and universe? How far are we going?
Well, I mean, you could definitely go down that rabbit hole. I mean, I certainly went there. I believe we are all connected, but I believe this is practical too. I mean, you don't necessarily have to go and become a monk in a cave to figure this stuff out. I mean, I think there's some practical wisdom. It's really just about learning simple practices and techniques to get out of your own way. I believe there's an intelligence in the body. We are billion-dollar technology. If you look at medical science, they're trying to replicate the human body, because it is the ultimate mystery. How does it heal itself? How do we put it in position to create the right set of conditions where it can heal itself once we've gotten it to a point of illness? And it can heal itself, and I'm not saying we can cheat death, because none of us get out of this journey alive, so that's part of it. We have to embrace that reality, and the sooner we do that, really, in my mind, the better off. And that's hard. That's where our fear comes from, so fear is a big part of this. And we all have it. It's universal, but why is it there? Why is fear there? Why are we running from fear? Why don't we see it for what it is and truly try and understand it, embrace it, and utilize it?
Because fear is scary.
It certainly is.
Fear is scary. And what I've seen in my half a century here on this planet is that people are gravitating more and more towards comfort, away from discomfort. I remember I was, mid-20s when the dentist started really focusing on my comfort. And he said, raise your hand if you're feeling any discomfort. I'm like, come on, dude. All of this is uncomfortable. I don't want to be here. I don't want some stranger poking around in my mouth with a sharp metal object. Get real. If it's a matter of, excruciating pain, like having a cavity drilled out without Novocaine, that's a different story. But just a little bit of discomfort, hey, what's the big deal?
Absolutely. And so this is something I've seen over and over and over again in my journey. I was kind of a risk taker in my earlier years. I was a mountain climber and an adventure athlete, and I did all kinds of crazy things. And, some people might say you're an adrenaline junkie, but there was something about, challenge. There was something about adversity, and there was something about willingly going into those moments and experiencing your own discomfort, because there's a point where you surrender, and I'm not saying you give up. There's a point where you let go. And then
explain that. So how is the listener understanding you're not saying, I don't care if I live or die, I'm going to walk on the edge of this cliff and whatever?
It's a level of acceptance with your situation. So as an athlete, I used to do crazy ultra runs and 100-mile runs, and
nice.
You get to a point in these events where your body's like, I can't go any, this hurts.
Yeah.
Like, you're hurting me. But your mind's like, no, it's fine. It's good. Let's keep going.
Once you get past that point of hurt, then you get to a point of, exhilaration. But it has to come with acceptance, though. That is the very first thing. If you keep fighting that hurt, you're not going to get past it. So once you accept, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is how it is, accept it, move on. And then guess what? You do.
Yeah, and that's the magic moment where the fear goes away. It just dissolves. The pain goes away, because it's in the mind. You're experiencing this in the mind. So all of those experiences that I had early in my life prepared me, for this greater experience that I went through with illness. And I found it universal. The pain and discomfort and the dread and the fear, the more I ran away from it, and I learned, like, that's real fear,
Mm-hmm.
The things that I did early in my life, that was child's play. Really facing ourselves as we are and facing our conditions, getting old and dealing with health issues and things like that. It's hard, but we all go through it as part of the human journey, and, facing it, surrendering to it, accepting it, discovering how you can do it very gracefully. You learn, how to truly surrender yourself to fear, self-doubt, anxiety, depression, and all of a sudden you have opportunities to heal physically.
This Sounds great, and I personally know what you're talking about, as I've experienced similar things to you. I'm putting myself in my listeners' heads right now. They're driving their car, they're stuck in traffic, they're whatever they're doing. Oh, maybe this listener is a 55-year-old woman who's had weight problems all her life and has been on 100 diets, and everyone has failed bigger than the one before, and she's really down on herself because she doesn't believe. There's nothing that I can say, that you can say, that anybody else can say that will convince her that she can reach a healthy body weight. Mm-hmm. What would you say to that? There's a fear that I don't even want to try again because then I'll fail again, and then I'll be once more another failure, and these failures kind of add up.
So what I'll say, people come to me at various points in their journey. Some people come to me after trying 1,001 things and failing over and over again. Failure's great. Failure is the best teacher in the world because you learn how not to do things.
No, failure hurts. Failure's horrible. It makes me feel bad about myself. As like Homer Simpson once said, when at first you don't succeed, give up.
Right.
And unfortunately, there is a lot of people that sort of have that mentality. The Simpsons are a reflection on our real society going on.
Yeah. Well, there's no easy way out. We face it at the end of the day. We all have to face ourselves as we are, and we can choose. We have a choice. We have a choice to do that now or to continue to push that off until later. So I will say that we're all a product of conditioning, and that every limiting belief that we have in our minds is a story. It's a story in our minds that's not necessarily true. We believe it to be true. We make it true because that's how powerful our minds and our thoughts truly are. Where did we get these stories from? How long have we been carrying these stories along with us? I realized in my journey, there were stories that I was carrying around since I was a kid. Cancer really brought me to the edge and really showed me that those stories weren't true, and that actually by changing my thoughts, I could change the story. And I did it through very simple practices that are very well known and out there and been practiced for thousands of years. Mindfulness and meditation may be the single greatest skill a human being can acquire in their life. Do you have to become a monk and sit in a cave and chant for hours a day to master it? No, you don't. Like the way I work with people as a coach, I don't prescribe anyone meditate for more than a half hour a day. It's all about what you do after that. When you get out and start walking through your life again, and the effects of that meditation and the effects on, it's basically like changing a light bulb. You have this dark, dingy, light bulb. It's lighting up, the current story you have in your life. And you want to change that light bulb out to a nice, shiny, new, LED, super high efficiency, light bulb, and you want to be able to see things more brightly.
So how do you do that when you've been stuck in the same story since you were 8 years old? And you understand, the listener right now is saying, I get you, Rob. I understand what you're saying. I just don't know how to do it.
Well, it's a little bit of understanding how you got to where you got to and getting real about it. Like sometimes we become too smart for our own good. Like, not having knowledge sometimes doesn't always work to our advantage. Sometimes knowledge gives us too many choices.
Oh, yeah.
When we become too smart, all of a sudden we have too many choices, and all of a sudden we start doubting ourselves because we're thinking so logically, and we're thinking this is the way it must be, and then we talk about our beliefs. Beliefs are great. Principles are great to have in our lives. But at some point, they could be limiting us from seeing ourselves in a truer light. So where did our current beliefs of why or why we can't do something in our lives, where did it come from? And really going into that. And that's where the real fear is.
There we go.
It's really digging at, you got to get underneath the surface a little bit. And, it is a little bit like peeling like an onion, and you're peeling back these layers a little bit. And yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. It's not comfortable, but I'm telling you, it's far easier, far, far, far easier than to choose to do this voluntarily, than to get to a point in your life where the choice is made for you. Yeah. I got to a place, I was a successful, healthy, fit, smart person.
Yeah.
That's what I believed. And my reality told me that. Yet I got stage 4 lung cancer.
Ooh.
And I was given a 4% chance to live.
Jeez.
I had to face the reality that somehow I got myself into that situation.
Were you a smoker?
I was not a smoker. I was a, once in a while kind of smoker, but not anything that we call as, a health problem. I was a runner. I was a fit guy. I shopped at Whole Foods. We have to get to the reality of these things. So this was forced upon me. Maybe this was, I don't know the truth behind fate or free will. Maybe it was my fate, my karma, that this was going to happen to me in my life. But also maybe I chose it, or maybe a bit of both. Yeah. Either way, I had to face the reality of my situation, and what I told my friends and family when I gathered them all together, and I said, you know what? Cancer may kill me, but along the way, it's here to teach me something. Mm-hmm. And that is what my focus in life is going to be, is to learn everything that cancer has to teach me, because I have to believe that right now in this moment, cancer is a gift. And that's the story that I took on. And it turns out there's something really phenomenal and amazing about that, because when we apply meaning to something larger than ourselves, so I'd somehow, through mental gymnastics, mindfulness, through all the experiences that I had in my life, moved to a place where instead of crumbling and going small, I expanded and thought bigger than myself. Like, this is bigger than me. Who am I? This is bigger than me. So I'm, if all I have left is 2 months, I'm going to try and understand what that bigger thing is. And lo and behold, when you give yourself to something that's larger than yourself, your problems, your fears start to seem small. Your stories, all those things start to crumble. And you step into something bigger. And, I don't know, you want to call that oneness? You want to call that something more divine? I don't know. I certainly went down the rabbit hole and tried to understand it. But, I came out the other side with a different view. I changed the light bulb. And miraculously, through that process, I healed myself.
That is amazing. I've several thoughts. I didn't want to interrupt you. First of all, it sounds like religion. So was there any religious basis to your accepting the greater idea?
There was in a sense, kind of, it's kind of funny. They say, the old saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yes.
So kind of that, something happened to me along those lines. I kind of hooked up with kind of a real deal enlightened Tibetan Buddhist guru. And he was kind of, his expertise was in death and dying. If I'm going to go, I want to go as graceful way as possible. Yeah, and peace. And so I went to him for support and health, and he opened my eyes to something larger. And he helped me open the door of real mindfulness and meditation. For me, dogma is not my thing. Mm-hmm. It turns out, he's obviously a super wise individual. Dogma serves a purpose, and that's to help someone along their path. But once somebody achieves a certain level of understanding or a certain level of seeing or a certain level of practice, the dogma is not necessarily needed. Like, I just came to a point where I saw everything as miraculous. Mm-hmm. I kind of saw everything as God in a way, but without necessarily limiting myself to one belief or another. I accepted all viewpoints, right, in a way.
Yeah, why not? So what have you got to lose?
Why not? Yeah, I mean, why create more problems for yourself by denying other people's viewpoints or denying one viewpoint or another. I'm like, what is this here to teach me? So I'm gonna try and understand all viewpoints, and understanding that, I saw everything as perfect, everything is beautiful, everything is wonderful, and in that I kind of moved out of my head and into my heart. And, my heart opened more, and I relaxed more, and I was feeling more joy, and I was feeling more love, and all this, those stories that I had about myself started to fall away. So I won't say, I'm not going to go out and say, God saved me. You can't put a definition to this,
Right.
At this point, what I found that the more that I learn, the less that I know. And it's humbling to me to be in that position. So, I just walk around saying, I just want to know more. I want to know more about people and the way they see the world and understand where their stories are coming from and help them free themselves from their limited viewpoints.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, there is no right or wrong. There is no black or white. We are all in this journey together. And once you kind of come to this less limiting view, the opportunities for you as a person are greater, for you to expand, for you to heal yourself, for you to break through your fears, your self-doubt, your anxieties. So yeah, that's been my experience and my journey.
I have to know a little clarification on what you said a bit ago. You said and I'm not quoting you exactly, you said you gave in to the bigger thing. And I would like to know what's, the interpretation could be you gave into cancer, and it sounds like you gave up on life and you gave into death and gave into cancer as in taking your life. So how did what you did differ from what I just interpreted?
If anybody is familiar, there's a really famous book by a guy named Viktor Frankl, and it's Man's Search for Meaning. And it was his story about how he survived the Nazi concentration camps. And the idea of it is about meaning. For me, it was about finding a greater meaning in the journey and in the circumstances that I found myself in. So, I could have looked at cancer, as many people do, as a death sentence. Many people are living with chronic illnesses and challenges in their lives, and they view them as hindrances in their lives. And I chose to take an opposite view, and more of an optimistic view, and try to understand the greater meaning of why I was given this affliction in my life. What is the greater meaning to me as a human being? What is the greater lesson that it's here to teach me? And to embrace that greater meaning, to step kind of outside of me as a person, some people refer to as the small I, and step into this thing like the greater I, which is it's kind of like the we. We're all just trying to get along, right? So so it's kind of like finding your mission in life, and it relates to finding your purpose, your passion. Some people know what that is in their life. Some people are seeking it. Some people, it's thrust upon them, so it's kind of like what I'm telling people is you have a choice. You have a choice. And would you rather you voluntarily made the choice and chose your own path in your own way, or would you rather get to some point in your life where that choice is made for you? Because I'm telling you, that's less comfortable than whatever situation you're in at the moment.
Yeah, I'm glad you repeated that. You said that earlier, and I wanted to go back to it, so this is a perfect segue. I speak to people every single day that have made choices made for them. Their doctor said, guess what? Because of your lifestyle, you now have diabetes. Guess what? Because of your lifestyle, you have high blood pressure. Guess what? Etc. And I am big, huge on prevention because it's so much easier to prevent something. Yes, it's kind of a bother to brush your teeth twice a day and floss. I don't really like it, but yet I brush my teeth 2 to 4 times a day because the payoff is better, because I don't like getting fillings. I don't like, having a dentist probe around my mouth with a sharp instrument. I don't like the sound of that drill. So to me, that's the payoff. Yet so many people just don't see down the road long enough that that one can of Coke they're drinking today, oh, it's just one, which, by the way, they say again the next day or the next week. How can somebody really grasp that their actions, their lifestyle, their behavior matters?
So this is very interesting, and so this is what I've come to. As people ask me, so why aren't you out there like helping cancer patients specifically overcome cancer? So what I've come to is there's something about finding this greater meaning in your life. There's something about finding your passion, finding your purpose, finding your why that helps a person transcend all that stuff. You get to a point where your mission, your purpose in life becomes larger than you, and those things that you're pushing away tend to dissolve because you have a greater connectedness to something larger in your life. So you say, wow, I need to be here because I have this greater mission in life. So I'm going to brush my teeth. I'm going to give up soda. I'm going to stop smoking because I found this passion and I found this mission in my life. And I believe that's the most important thing, in my life. And I want to be here so I can see that, come to life. So there's something about this, and it may be one of the greatest questions that people ask. What is my purpose here? And I don't know that it's necessarily. We may go through many iterations of this in our life, but it's better to go and try and choose and say, I find meaning in this today. This is my why. This is my why today. There's a famous quote by Nietzsche that's if you know your why, you can survive anyhow. Mm-hmm. So instead of living in self-doubt and not choosing anything, choosing to shrug your shoulders and say, it's meaningless. So I'm just gonna do whatever the heck I like. You find meaning in every moment, so when I started waking up to this idea more, really waking up, really like digging into it, I saw meaning everywhere.
Really?
everybody would agree that if you wake up in the morning and you sit out on your porch and you look at a sunset, you're going to find tremendous meaning in the beginning of your day looking at that sunset. But can you find meaning in your commute to work while you're sitting in traffic? Can you find meaning, in your work life? Can you find meaning when you're out, doing chores and shopping? And, can you find meaning in all the little things you do in your life? Can you see the greater thing that's beyond you in all of those things, because we are everyone and we're no one. I don't want to go too deep down the rabbit hole here. I'm trying to stick to practical approaches for people so I can meet people where they're at. But yes, there's something to this. And so, I go back to, Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. And, he detailed through that book, these are the people who survived, the people who found meaning and acceptance with the horrible, horrible, horrible situation that they were in. And he developed a whole theory of psychology around that. And it turns out that those answers, that intelligence, that knowledge already exists. I found myself, I was forced into the choice of illness. I was forced to look deep within myself, and what I found was all those answers, all those universal kind of concepts were there within me already embedded.
I like what you said early on, that the answer is within us, and you just hit on that again. And it reminds me of a conversation I had with a client yesterday who grew up eating this, the standard American diet or the deadly American diet, and she is finding some health problems, of course, as one will after doing that for a couple decades. And so she started eating really healthy food. She's eating salad for lunch and things like that. And she said she has never felt so good. She has more energy, more life, more vitality, more hope. She doesn't feel heavy and bogged down. Even though she really hasn't lost any weight yet, she feels 10 pounds lighter. The interesting thing is, she said, and I'm circling back to what you just said, is she said, I knew all along what I should be eating. I knew what my body wanted. I just was not doing it. And she said, because I don't know why. And my thought is, well, basically society. There's advertisements, there's friends, there's compulsions, there's all these other compelling reasons to buy a certain food and live a certain way because somebody makes some money at it. And you never see billboards and TV commercials and even coupons for celery. But you do for Skittles and Lucky Charms and that sort of thing. And you got to ask yourself, well, you don't have to ask yourself why. I think it's pretty obvious. But what she said was she knew all along. She just didn't know she knew it. She wasn't open to it.
So this gets back to conditioning. We're brought up in a certain way. We're conditioned by parents and school and friends and family and all this stuff. But, this modern age there's so much more to it because we're being bombarded. Mm-hmm. Literally bombarded with thousands and thousands and thousands of messages a day.
Yep.
It's psychologically driven. I mean, there's a science behind it. It's not, it's not just some dude talking on your television or on your radio. I mean, there's real psychology and science behind how they're targeting you. It's almost like you're being given no choice because you've made the choice to let all those messages in. So one thing that I specifically teach, and this is part of mindfulness and meditation, is when I ask people to take on, a basic practice in mindfulness and meditation, I ask them to give something up because you have to if you want to change your story, you have to make space in your mind for a new story to come in. Just think of it as like a hard drive in your computer. And if your hard drive is full, there's no way you can add more data to it. You have to delete stuff. So when I was forced into my illness with cancer, I had to give up everything. I had to completely focus 100% of my efforts on where I was and what I was dealing with in that moment, so, I mean, certainly I haven't listened to the news in over a decade. I don't watch television. I haven't seen a commercial other than, walking through an airport or being in some restaurant and seeing a TV. I mean, I have made the choice, and this is maybe one of the greatest choices I've made, is to stop listening to the world. Because the world, in many ways, is crazy.
I'll say.
And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. But why do we continue to listen? Can we make small steps in our life to start making choices to not allow some of that information in? Because we have to realize that that information is not necessarily serving us. So is it keeping a person from choosing salad over Skittles? Absolutely.
Yeah. That's hard, though, because in the moment, those Skittles look pretty tantalizing. If I were to ask you, would you rather have a handful of Skittles or a handful of blueberries, I probably would guess the right answer, as you would with me. But yet there's so many other people who would go for those Skittles.
Absolutely. It comes down to choice, and I don't think people understand what choices are really available to them. So in finding your meaning, finding your why, finding your passion in life, overcoming self-doubt, you have to be really honest about your choices and what you're capable of doing. So as a coach, I'm here to expand people's minds a little bit and show them, a slightly different perspective. Like, I shift their perspective by like 1 degree. And I say, okay, instead of looking at something like this, how about we look at it like this? And that 1 degree shift oftentimes is enough for somebody to have an aha moment. They're like, oh my God, like I didn't realize that that's what I was choosing over and over and over again. Because here's the fact. 5% of what you do on a daily basis is handled by your conscious mind.
Which means
the rest, 95% of what we do every single day, every single moment, is occurring from our subconscious mind. So all of this information and everything we're bombarded at is getting, you're conscious of it, but it's going through your conscious mind and hitting your subconscious mind. And that's where you're really making decisions from. So when you start to slowly engage in different practices in life. I have these pillars of practice, which are very simple practices and very customizable to people. They're able to become a little bit more aware of what's happening in their subconscious minds, and they're able to. It's not like you can direct. Or it is in a way, like you can start to tell your subconscious mind what to do. Which is essentially what I did in my journey through cancer. By choosing this larger meaning, this larger why in my life, I was basically instructing my subconscious mind to focus on something entirely different than self-doubt, fear, dread, and death. It was focusing on something more meaningful, more positive, more passionate, and so my body and my emotions and my conscious thoughts started responding to that.
That's amazing.
It is through this training of practicing mindfulness, this greater bucket of mindfulness, because I want to paint a picture that mindfulness is not just sitting on a cushion and being with your thoughts or chanting or something like that,
Well, yeah, that's meditation. And
yeah.
You'd certainly want to be mindful while you're meditating, yet you don't meditate all day, but you can be mindful all day.
Yes, mindfulness is literally it's one of the most practical skills that anybody can learn in their life. And you can use it on anything and everything you want to do in life. So I've taken a lot of time in my life to really master that. I work with people and I teach them very basic skills that allow them to tap into their own innate wisdom and start to have those conversations with their own subconscious minds.
So, Rob, what kind of coach are you? Would you classify yourself as a life coach? Do you do business coaching, health coaching? What's your demographic? What kind of people come to you, and what are they what's their end result?
So I would say I'm getting clearer and clearer on that as my journey unfolds, but I would say I'm a transformational coach. And I use a lot of, so I meet clients where they're at, and I use a lot of things that I've learned throughout my life. I use a lot of intuition and a lot of things that I've learned through my own experience, and deep study. I've studied, I'm a professional coach. I went to school for that. I've studied psychology, done a lot of different things in my life. So, but I'm really trying to help somebody transform themselves, to step into that larger I, to be more authentic, to find their passion and purpose in life. Because I find that's like the greatest gift. You can find more meaning, more passion, more purpose in your life. The search for happiness and health and all that stuff becomes secondary, because those things just start to happen. Through finding more purpose and passion, happiness arises.
So many people want to lose weight so they will be happy, and they're getting the cart before the horse because they have to be happy first. They have to like themselves first in order to respect themselves.
Boom. That's it.
Cool. So, Rob, how can people find you, learn more about you, contact you, etc.?
So you can reach me. I have a website, awakenedadventures.com. And right now, if you go to awakenedadventures/livefit, there's some offers there that I have. You can hire me and get a coaching consultation. If you use the coupon code podcast, you can get a discounted energy assessment, which is kind of like an entry level assessment that I do to help people find where they're currently limited in their life. They can also download a free mindfulness ebook that I have on that page. And then I also do kind of these really fun, crazy adventure trips all around the world, because my passion for the outdoors and nature is still there and driving me. So I take people on these cool trips.
That is awesome. Rob, it has been such a pleasure speaking with you. I love what you're doing. I love your purpose in life. I'm thankful that you, and as I'm sure you are, survived cancer, and you can tell everybody your story and, share what you learned from that experience. And other people can have that insight as well.
Thanks so much, Glenn, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Live Fit Podcast. Please subscribe and share with someone you care about. Read show notes, articles, resources, and learn more about our weight management programs at livefitpodcast.com. Once again, thanks for listening, and always remember to live fit.